Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Oner podcast, the podcast where we break down and review films all in one big, long, unbroken take. I'm Austin Archer, and with me, as always, is my childhood next-door neighbor and lifelong best friend,
Kramer England.
And today we are talking about the film The Drama. With R. Pats and Zendaya, A24, baby.
Yes.
These cuties are they're both so good in this movie.
They are very good. I thought they both did an amazing job. Zendaya is always interesting to me because like I saw her in her Disney days.
Sure.
Like my kids would, like have Disney on and what was I forgot the name. She was like a spy or whatever, but I think she's one of the few Disney actors who's like really come out and done a really good job, and she's a really good actress.
Well, think about where he started: Harry Potter and Twilight.
And he's challenged himself. Zendaya, I still sometimes am like, I still kind of see some of that Disney, but it's never too much. I think it's just me.
I felt like this was one of her strongest things that she's turned.
It was awesome.
Also, there's stuff that she's done on Euphoria that is like really amazing. There's stuff that like there's an episode of Euphoria in season 2 that my jaw was like dropped the entire. She's like, there's this episode where she's like coming off of heroin and she's having withdrawals, and the whole episode is just like focused on what she's going through, and she is insanely good in that episode. Awesome. This is a movie that the marketing smartly from A24 does a lot to make sure you know the least amount possible about it.
Yes.
So we're going to give you some general impressions of the film, saying as little as we can about it, because if you have not seen this movie yet, you should see it without having it spoiled. We will have spoilers in this episode. We'll let you know when that's going to happen. But like, general thoughts early on. What are your general thoughts, Kramer?
Yes, my general thoughts, I agree. Go into this without knowing what's going on. I do think you need to know this is a dark comedy. Like it's pretty dark, and it toes the line between really dramatic and sometimes really funny. Sometimes it doesn't totally balance it, but it does a really, really good job.
There are some sequences that are like some of the funniest.
It's
they were crazy funny.
But also make sure you do not go into this thinking this is like any sort of romantic comedy.
No,
if anything, it's like a romantic horror, not even it's just like a relationship horror. Right.
What I talked about this I made a video about The Drama on my own channel. We'll link it in the description if you want to watch that one too, because I'm really into this movie. But I talked about how like that thing that Hollywood does sometimes. They did it a lot when we were growing up, where they released two things at the same time with similar concepts, like Armageddon and Deep Impact. All of that stuff. You know all of them. And right now, not only do we have Now You Are Ready or Not 2 and They Will Kill You, which are similar concepts, but we've got Something Very Bad is going to happen on Netflix, which is a romantic horror series about people on the week of their wedding. And we've got this one. Right. And I think from the marketing, a lot of people would think that this one's more fun and playful.
Yes.
And it's got and I think this is intentional. I think it's Christopher Borgley being a little cheeky with the way that these trailers are cut.
Right.
But
it's not. So like there were a lot of people. I saw this last night, and there were a lot of people in the theater, which was great. And you could just feel the vibe of everybody. We were all feeling very cringy at times. Like I've said, this is like watching the episode. This is like watching Scott's Tots for like an hour and 45 minutes from The Office. Like, it's like there are times you're just like, oh, I don't want to watch this. Like, I feel so uncomfortable, but then it's so funny, and then it's so engaging sometimes.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
So I've seen this twice now. Okay. The first time I saw it, my audience was like all laughing the entire time. Like we were laughing through the whole film. Yes. I was and a lot of times it's uncomfortable laughter.
Yes.
It's laughter where I'm going, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
The second time I saw it, my audience was silent. and I was the only person laughing. And so I would laugh and then I'd be like, sorry, everybody, sorry. I think that's funny. But like because the timing of the way that Borgley edits this film is just like, there's a lot of really like comedic timing, but it's dark. But my question is, what was your audience like? Were they laughing a lot, or?
My audience was leaning more toward the silent, but they did laugh. But there were times where I was the only one laughing and I felt uncomfortable. Like, why are you guys not laughing? That was really funny. Like,
yeah.
But so it was, but they were at least laughing some. So
yeah.
But it still was good because I could hear everybody talking, and some people seemed to love it after, as I was just kind of listening to people talk. Some people didn't love it. I'm sure that they were expecting, Robert Pattinson and Zendaya romantic comedy that maybe is a little dark, but not that dark.
I just think that what everyone thinks is because what I will say this, I didn't see the trailer for this movie before seeing it. I saw the teaser.
Okay.
And I think the teaser is actually kind of perfect. The teaser is just the scene where they're getting the photo session done. And all you get from the teaser is, okay, this couple is about to get married and something has happened that's making them feel that the vibes are off. And that's all anyone needs to know going into this movie. But again, you could think like, well, what is it? Is it like, it's probably something kind of silly or comical, or, like, ooh, she got pregnant and how are we going to deal with this? Who knows what the drama is, but we're thinking it's going to be something more conventional and normal. I will say this. The trailer for the film, even though it doesn't give it away, I don't like that the trailer has the wine glass scene in it. I don't like that it shows us like how the information comes out.
Yes, that it's a great, because I am actually,
you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying.
It's like, oh, if I had seen that trailer, then I would know when I'm watching the movie, like, oh, this is the scene when it happens.
Yes. And so I make trailers for a living, so I see what you're talking about. So I have a little bit different perspective because I like watching trailers. It doesn't really ruin it for me. This was an interesting one though, because the teaser, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I did not have enough information for me to gauge what type of a movie it was.
Sure.
So I leaned more towards like, oh, romantic comedy that's kind of goes on the dark side. A24 romantic like dramedy. But then when the trailer came out, when they showed the scene, I was like, okay, that seems a little more interesting. Like, so I'm gonna say what it is, but this is not a spoiler.
It's in the trailer.
It is in the trailer. But if you don't even want to hear this, then go watch the movie.
Because I even kind of think like, I'm glad I didn't know that it was going to happen in this scene.
Yeah, and I was fine because what they say in the trailer is like, oh, what's the worst thing you've ever done? And then it goes to they don't even say who it is, so it's either Zendaya or Robert Pattinson. I didn't know who it was.
But they do though. That's the problem.
Did they? Okay.
So it's four friends drinking wine, and they decide to play the game. Let's all go around the circle and say the worst thing we've ever done, and they get to Zendaya, and then Alana Haim's reaction is Emma, what the F? And she like yells at her. So we know that. So that's why I don't like it being in there. Cause I'm like, well, now we know it's Zendaya, and we also know the scene where it happens. And and that's when I was watching it, I didn't know who was
Who was that? Yeah. And I get that. I totally get that. For me, it wasn't a big problem because my whole thought process was, oh, okay, so what is going to be that bad that made them question their whole relationship?
For sure.
And so it made me more intrigued to see the movie, because then I was like, well, what is it? And so I can see it either way. I'm in a different place, but I know a lot of people hate when anything is spoiled, even the smallest thing. But
it's sort of like my brother-in-law told me to watch The Rip on Netflix.
I watched it. Yeah.
And he told me before I watched it, he was like, this movie has an amazing twist. You think you know what's coming, but then he's like, whatever you think is about to happen, it's all different. So as I was watching it, I was like, the movie's very clearly like implying one thing. And I was like, well, okay, so obviously it's not that then. And then when the twist happened, I was like, well, I wish I hadn't,
The funny thing is I didn't have that, and I knew what the twist was before the midpoint. Like
Yeah.
I was like, well, it's gonna be this. Like it's pretty obvious. But it didn't make the I actually liked that movie.
I liked it
I thought it
too.
was really good. It
I
was a very
still
fun movie.
I still enjoyed it.
Yeah, yeah.
But
But it is hard when you're trying to find something, you view a movie in a different way.
I'll
It
also
changes your viewing experience.
totally. I'll also say this. A lot of people have been talking about this movie as like there's a big twist. It's not a twist. It's the
No.
inciting incident.
It
It's
is. It's
it,
well,
it's
actually, this is the funny thing too, because it's not. It is the inciting, but it's not really the inciting.
the inciting incident happens in the scene before.
Right before it, which is so small, which I
Yeah.
loved.
Yeah.
I loved.
Yeah. But
But it's like
I would
because if
say
that didn't happen, the whole movie wouldn't happen.
right.
But it's the first plot point, really.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's where everything turns. That's where you get into the first act. Is that
Yeah.
scene.
Structurally, this movie is fantastic.
Oh, it is. It's amazing.
It so okay. I this just while we're in marketing land, I'll say
Yes.
this. What sold me on this movie is even just seeing that teaser.
Yes.
There was just something about the cinematography and the
Yes.
vibe that I was
Yes.
like, I trust this. I trust the style here. I didn't even know that Christopher Borgli wrote and directed it, and I really liked Christopher Borgli's last film. I
Oh,
really
good.
liked Dream
I
Scenario.
haven't seen it, but
It's
it looked great.
it's fantastic, and it's like one of the best Nicolas Cage performances I've ever seen, which is saying a
awesome.
lot. I think
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage has a lot of great performances in his career. Don't at me. He is good, okay? Go watch Adaptation, okay?
He is. He's good when he wants to be, is what I would say about Nick Cage. He's
Go
very
watch
good when he
Leaving
wants
Las
to be.
Vegas. Go watch.
He has won an Academy Award, but he also does a lot of crap.
Sure.
But whatever. But I totally see. Yeah.
But Dream Scenario is like genuinely one of his best performances, and I didn't even know because the trailer doesn't even say like from the writer or director of Dream Scenario. They could have done that.
They could have. And I agree with you. And what sold me on this movie because of it's A24.
Yeah.
And I knew it was not going to be mainstream, that there's going to be something about this movie that makes it a little bit off kilter, a little bit different than what you're expecting.
Well,
so,
also A24 last year, or maybe it was the year before, put out Materialists, which was
last year. Yeah.
which was another similar kind of marketing campaign where all the posters for Materialists and all the trailers looked like a pretty by the numbers rom-com. But I was like, it's A24. It looks like it's shot with a little more style. Then I see that it's Celine Song who did Past Lives, and I'm like, okay, there's no way Celine Song's just making my best friend's wedding, right?
Right.
And so I go and watch it, and I'm like, oh no, there is more going on in this movie. And so I kind of thought the drama would be more like that. It would be like, it's a rom-com, but it's like a A24. It's like how A24 is doing elevated horror. I'm like, maybe the new thing is they're trying to do elevated rom-com.
Well, they did Eternity, right? So that it is kind of something they're doing. Yeah,
exactly. But I thought maybe this movie would be like that. I was still not expecting what we got.
No, I know. When it came to that scene, like I knew, like, okay, there's something. Like, what would be really that bad that would make you reevaluate your whole relationship? And then it was said, and I was like, oh, I had no idea that it was that. Like it was nowhere on my radar. It was not there. And I was so surprised, and I immediately locked into the movie.
Yeah.
Like I was totally for it, and I was very intrigued, and it really had me. Now this is gonna put a lot of people off, though. I mean, it's obviously there's a lot of debate online.
Yeah, it's definitely like you're either with it or you're not, and it's definitely asking a lot of questions of its audience.
Yes,
it's not giving any easy answers. It's certainly a conversation starter. Like if you go see this with your partner or spouse or just friends, you're going to be talking on the way home about where do you stand, how do you feel, and I really like the questions that Christopher Borgli asks in all of his films. He really challenges his audience, and in all three movies, I've watched all three of his features now, and he really confronts people with interesting aspects of human identity and just sort of the messiness of being human.
Yeah.
I will say before we get into like specifics about this movie.
Yeah.
I already said that so far in 2026, I think this is the strongest release of the year. I don't think that there's anything else that's come out this year that is if the Oscars were tomorrow, I would nominate this movie for Best Picture, Best Original Screenplay, Best Director, Best Editing. My goodness.
Editing was awesome. Did he I think he helped edit Christopher Borgli, or someone.
It really just seems like a movie where like the edit was such a part of like the structure of the like
It
it seems
was.
like it's
It
built into
was.
the screenplay, it's built into
Totally.
the DNA of the film from
Yeah.
the ground up.
He helped edit. Christopher Borgley is the editor with Joshua Raymond Lee. So
That
he
doesn't surprise
really,
me.
yeah. And it definitely I mean, he's writer, director, editor, producer, obviously. So he's doing everything. The editing in this movie I think this is catching people off guard. I loved it because I got exactly what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
But for some people, it is like, why is this so all over the place? And like, why is it? But it's perfect for the story.
I think I don't think it's just for style points. Like,
It's not.
I think you could say that like, oh, this is just sort of like Christopher Borgley, like doing too much. It's too all over the place, but like, it's really teaching us how to watch it. There's a rhythm to the editing that helps with the comedy. It helps to cut the tension sometimes. It helps.
The editing is also helping the story. It's a
Yeah.
piece of the story because the story is a lot about memory as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like remembering things or our insecurities that we have and our thought processes, and the editing really helps with that. It was also very, very well.
It's also about the internality of our lives, like our internal lives, the parts of ourselves that we don't necessarily share with everyone. So a lot of times we're editing and we're showing what's going on inside a character that they're not saying out loud. And we're, and that's really cool. The another thing that I would probably nominate this film for that is not being talked about a lot is sound design. The sound mix here is really really interesting.
It was there, and there's actually I you bring up this this movie stayed with me. I saw it at 10 o'clock last night. I didn't get home till after 12. I could not stop thinking about it. Like I didn't have anybody to talk to because my wife was very tired, which is totally understandable. And like I tried to go to bed, but I couldn't go to sleep because I was thinking about it. But the sound design in hand with the editing helps you transition to the moments that are in somebody's head or in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And it did a really, really good job of helping you get to that point. Like, okay, they do the same editing motif and the same kind of sound design when they're doing that. And Zendaya's character, Emma, is deaf in one ear, and they play with that a lot, and they use it very, very effectively. So I think you're right. The sound design is a lot deeper than we realize.
Yeah. And then the last two things is like, I would give both of the lead actors nominations. I think that they're both doing really, really strong work. And I might throw in a supporting nod for Alana Hayam. I know that Alana Hayam's kind of an unlikable character in this,
but she's supposed to be unlikable.
And she's pretty good. Like
yes, this is the other thing that I want. She's really good because I do not like her at all. Now, her character, I don't like her character at all.
Right.
She's been good in the other movies. So she's doing a really, really great job because she's also not really a person. She's not really playing a person. She's playing kind of like an idea, a thematic element of like, this is how people react online to things. And this is how some people react in really weird scenarios. Like she's an extreme example because I don't think many humans act that way, but at least would specifically in that way. So she does it really, really well.
It's really interesting. So 3 films so far from Christopher Borgley: Sick of Myself, Dream Scenario, and The Drama. And all 3, it feels like he's talking about internet culture. He's talking about like what internet has done to our psyche and the way that we treat each other on the internet. And in all 3, the movies don't actually involve the internet at all. Like they do, like they don't take place on the internet. They take place in real life. And it's like real people having real conversations, but he's representing like the way that we treat each other online and going, if we treated each other like this in real life, would that be humane?
Yes, exactly. That's what she is. She is that representation of that idea of like, this is how internet people react when something like this happens. They're looking at face value and they're judging you accordingly when there's so much more layers to, and everybody hates her. Which to me is like, they don't hate you.
The internet hates Rachel.
Like they hate your character because you did such a good job of playing her, and she really, really did. And also the friend Mike, I forget how to say his name.
I do too.
I'm so sorry that I can't remember how to say it. Oh
There,
man.
the four people in the principal cast all do a really nice job.
Yes,
I will
he
also
is
say
awesome. I love his character as well because they all kind of represent a different facet of society and how we react to things.
there's another actor that I want to talk about, but I don't want to bring it up until we're into specifics because I think
Okay.
it's a little too much of like
Yes.
a potential spoiler. But so are you cool if we get into
Yeah.
more?
Let's get into the spoilers.
We gave you 20 minutes
20 minutes.
of glazing this movie, telling
Yeah.
you why you should go see it, that it's very engaging, very interesting. Go
Yes.
see it if you haven't already, and come back and watch the rest of this video
Yes.
because we're about to.
If
Yeah.
any of what we said interests you,
Yeah.
go see the movie. Stop watching us. Go see the movie. You don't want it spoiled. Trust me.
Yeah.
Like you want to go in clean. Even what we told you is more than enough.
Yeah.
Go see it clean for sure.
But if you're just like, I don't care. All right, here we go. So first of all, I love the first time I saw it, I came in like 5 minutes late and I missed the first 5 minutes. So I was glad the second time I saw it, I got to see the beginning. I love that Borgley opens on her ear. I just was I was like, oh man, what a good opening shot.
Yeah.
And because he's telling us so many things, and it's also good for repeat watching. The first time you see it, you're just like seeing her ear. We don't know why. We don't know.
Yes.
But if you're a smart viewer, you can hear with the sound design. You're like, oh, is this character? And then you notice that she has one earbud in when we cut to the wider angle. And so it's like, oh, is the movie telling us that she's hard of hearing in one of her ears?
Yeah.
Because of the way that the very good sound design is. And she and Robert Pattinson meet, and we start this kind of montage of like them, and this is immediately the movie is telling us about the visual language of the editing, because both of them are writing their wedding speeches, and we're cutting around to all of these different moments of their relationship, and it's like really endearing. They have a really lovely relationship that's funny and fun and cute, and
it really does a great job. It's funny because at first I was kind of thinking like, oh, this is a great way to just establish the characters, and it's really not as important to the story. But it actually, on second viewing, which I haven't seen it a second time, it really goes a lot into the story, especially with her ear, and especially just with the use of empathy and the use of all these things there's so much story in the first part that you think is just really like a prologue. Usually prologues don't have much to do with the story. It's just a fun way to open. But I thought it was a prologue. It's not. It's really important.
So much happening in the prologue that when I saw it on the second time, I was like, oh my goodness, it's all relevant. And there's even even things that it's like, so the movie's it's showing us like this meet cute that like Robert Pattinson goes up and tries to talk to her about this book that she's reading, which, by the way, little Easter egg, the book is called The Damage, which is also the name of the art display that a man does in the movie Sick of Myself, that like is one of the inciting incidents of that.
And I heard that this was the next movie that they were going to do, that he was going to do.
Well, so Christopher Borgley has used this title several times.
Okay, great.
Is my point. It's I guess he just likes the sound of The Damage. But Robert Pattinson goes up to talk to her, but doesn't realize she's deaf in one ear, so he thinks she's giving him the cold shoulder. When she realizes he's trying to talk to her, she says, "Can we start over?" Which you think is just like a cute, quirky thing.
Yes.
But it's also like a big theme for her character, that she's really into giving people second chances because of who she is.
Yes.
And because of, she really believes that people deserve to try again. And also there's all these little nuggets of like ways that you could actually look at Charlie and be like, dude, that's kind of scummy. The fact that when she goes to the bathroom, he gets up and takes a picture of her book so that he can pretend he read it.
A little creepy.
Yeah, there's all this
little creepy.
Like their first kiss, that it's like that's either romantic or where like she's explaining the kiss to her friends and they're like, he trapped you? And she's like, well, no, they get locked in like a little room, but there's all this stuff when you're watching it the second time that you're like, oh, all of this is talking about how you can choose how you want to read this. You could read this as Charlie's a total creep who kind of entrapped this woman into a relationship by lying to her. And then even the first kiss was like, they they got
Mhm.
stuck in they got locked in a little doorway to the museum, and
Yeah.
it's like he kind of kissed her without asking, and there's all these weird little ways that people on the internet might
Yes.
overreact or whatever.
Yeah.
But early on in this whole prologue, we're really establishing the themes
Yes.
of the film.
It
And
it does a
yeah.
lot. It does a lot of legwork that you don't realize until later that it does.
Yeah, and we're playing with this comedic language with the editing of like saying, "Well, I want to talk about how she," and then we cut to whatever
Yes.
it is that
Yeah.
and a lot of and we start learning how the film's script is going to unfold in front of us, and
Yes.
this is also something I've noticed Borgley does like in all of his films is like he's really good at grabbing little pieces from another scene and throwing it in the middle of someone talking
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
making it feel fluid and making it make sense.
Yeah.
Uh, I love the opening title sequence of them like dancing. I think it's really
Yeah.
sweet,
Yeah.
and again,
Well, it's funny too, and I didn't catch this. I watched a summary on YouTube, which was great. Um, but they do a dance, and it's very choreographed.
mhm,
And then Emma, who's Zendaya, she
mhm.
stops and she's like, "Wait, what if we just did this?" And she puts on a song, and Robert Pattinson's like, "Oh, she does this, and it always makes me mad."
When
Because
I'm
she does
mad,
it
she does it because it helps me. Yeah,
right, right.
yeah,
But yeah, and it's just she just wants to dance like normal. She doesn't want to have it. And the choreographer is like, "Well, a wedding is inherently performative." And that came back in the end. I never realized that, but that came back in the end because the wedding in the third act is all performative. And
yep.
I was like, "Oh, I didn't catch on to that," which was such a great little nugget that they had.
Again, talking structure wise, everything is platformed in this film.
Totally.
So
Totally.
this really cute sequence of them saying what they want to say in their wedding speeches about each other, it all comes back in the
Yes.
third act.
And
Yeah.
this is a movie that is an amazing example of setup and payoff, which all goes into the structure of it. Like it all pays off because it was set up before. There's so many things in movies where it's kind of a deus ex machina, or it's just like poorly planned. Like something happens in the third act, and you're like, well, that didn't make any sense. There was no setup. Like if you set it up in the first act, it's going to pay off in the third act and in the second act. Like this pays off multiple times. And it's very well the let's start over,
Yeah.
perfect example, which we'll get to. But this movie is great at setting everything up and then paying it off perfectly.
Yeah, it's like Robert Pattinson's like saying to his best man, he's like, "I want to talk about the fact that we have like good sex and stuff." And he's like, "Don't
Yeah.
talk about that at your
Yeah.
wedding in front of your
Yeah.
parents." He's like, "But he's like, could I find a way of talking about it that like it's not so
Yeah.
overt, And he's like, "I want to talk about her laugh. She's got this laugh that's like so lovely, but it's also a little like repulsive." And it's
Yeah.
like he's like, "How do I, But it's like setting all this up in kind of a sweet, cute, fun
Yeah.
way,
Yeah.
and then all that comes back in the wedding, in the world's
Exactly.
worst wedding speech ever.
Yes. The
in the
worst.
in the
Yeah.
worst, clumsiest way, but
Yeah.
it works because it's set up.
Exactly.
I just everything in this film feeds the themes.
It
Even
does.
like they leave this dance lesson and they're talking about their choreographer
Yeah.
and Zendaya's talking about how she's like, how come she's just like so serious and she's
Yeah.
and she's sort of criticizing this woman for like being kind of rude and
Yeah.
like and saying like she never smiles. And here's a question, like what's worse, a person who was really really sad and rude when they were 15 or a person who's like disaffected and rude into their 30s? Like it seems like Emma has had a lot of growth. Uh
Exactly. Yes.
and but anyway, this is where what you
This is
could
really the
call
inciting incident. Yeah.
yeah. My question to you,
Yes.
inciting incident. We're walking down the street after the dance lesson. They see their DJ for their wedding
Mhm.
smoking what looks to be heroin. Looks like
Okay.
she's smoking heroin under the awning of a building in New York City. My question for you, do you fire that DJ if it's your wedding
Oh man, that's a
and
good
you
question.
and you see your DJ smoking heroin, is she fired?
Oh man, I actually I don't know. I'm glad I don't have to make that decision now. Um, I don't know. I don't know what I would do because it's like, I mean, they're a week away from the wedding.
Right.
I, me personally, I side more with Zendaya because she's saying, well, we don't know. We don't know what her life, what she's going through. And like, it may not be like, she might be having the worst day of her life or
Yeah.
whatever. So and they can't definitively tell that it's heroin. It probably is like, but I side more with her of like, let's just give her a chance. Let's see how she does. What would you do?
I initially thought that was my answer. I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think it would be that big of a deal. She's a DJ. Who cares? Like who cares what my DJ's doing when she's not at my wedding? Like
Right.
her
Right.
life is her life. And I also like the point that Zendaya brings up where she's like, if we hadn't seen her, we wouldn't even be having this conversation.
Exactly.
Like if we didn't
Yes.
know what she was doing when she's not working for us,
Yeah.
it's random coincidence that we happened to walk by her. Also, I have another question for you. Well, no, you saw the trailer, so this is also why I think that the trailer. I don't like that it shows us the scene because
Right.
me not knowing that scene was coming up, I for a second thought like, oh, is this the drama?
Yeah. I thought that too. Yeah.
Is the drama going to be like wet? And I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's like a weird concept for a movie, whether or not we can trust this DJ because, and then maybe like the drama is like that Zendaya's like, I used to smoke heroin.
Yes.
And like,
I thought that too. Like, oh, is it drugs? Is it meth? Did she used to do meth? Like that?
yeah. And then it's just like something about like, how do you feel about people who have done drugs? But
It's
this
not.
question of would I fire
Yes.
the DJ or not? I wanted to think that I would be more like Emma and be like, hey,
Right.
But here's the thing. I was doing this play one time, and it was a musical, and this guy who was in the cast showed up to rehearsal
Yes.
out of his mind on drugs.
Oh,
And it was really sad. Like he was really clearly going through something really hard, and he was actively huffing drugs out of he had a gallon jug of something. It was full like this much of like we don't know what it was, and he would take the lid off and go and then he would just like look around the room and be like,
oh my.
and he kept like interrupting rehearsal and being like our director would be talking and he would just be like, and like, and it was just like very distracting, and everyone in the room was looking at each other like, what do we do? And so I was the lead in the show, and I just sort of like, I was like, I think I should like take some authority here, and I just sort of stepped forward and I was like, hey, can we take a break? I was like, let's take a break. And our director was like, yeah, let's take a break. And then I went up to the director and I was like, hey, he's fired. And the director was like, but I don't, just like, how are we going to replace him? It was like 2 weeks before the show opened. And I was like, I know, but he has to be fired. I was like, I feel bad for him. I genuinely feel bad for whatever's going on.
Yeah.
But we can't take the risk that he's going to show up to a performance like this, or that he's like not going to show up at all. That like he's going to get, like whatever he's going through, he's part of a team project right now, and and we need to know we can rely on him. And while Emma has a good point that they wouldn't have known this if they hadn't happened, now that they know, it's kind of like, well, a lot is riding on this DJ showing up. And what happens if she gets too wasted the night before the wedding and she doesn't wake up till 7 p.m.? Or what happens if she shows up messed up at like she's high at the like, it's like, now that you know this, it's just sort of like, you can have empathy for the DJ, I think.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's a question of like reliability.
Yeah.
And
it's a good point. And I feel like I would be more like Emma, but in reality, because it is, you got to rely on them. And can you rely on them? So,
but
it's a great way to start. It's a great way to start things.
Yeah.
And that's a great catalyst, right? A great inciting incident that sets things in motion. This is what really, this is the thing that I love about inciting incidents, is like, if that moment didn't happen, we wouldn't have a movie. And that's the moment that sets things off, that puts their world out of balance. Because if they didn't see it, they wouldn't have had the conversation in the wine room, and they wouldn't have even talked about the worst things that they've ever done. Anyway, it was a great little inciting incident that I was like, oh, this is so cool. such a cool little way to get the ball rolling.
I just think the writing in this movie is so good.
It's
I think
very
that
good. Very
like
good.
this scene while they're drinking wine and sampling is such a good scene.
Yeah.
It's one of those movies that I was sitting there going like, this is the kind of movie I want to write, and I'm mad that I
Yeah.
didn't write it. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I wish I could
like,
write that well.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, this they're talking with their friends while they're sampling wine and sampling food from the wedding venue. They're talking about like, what should we do about this DJ? And that gets them talking about the worst things they've ever done.
Yes.
Mike, you know, who is which again, the thing about Rachel, like she outs Mike. She's like, well, the dog thing, you did
She does. She
yeah,
does.
yeah.
Yeah, and these are Mike's thing is that he was on vacation with his ex-girlfriend and she was kind of being a lot, and they were walking home through an alley in Mexico, and a dog came. He basically used his girlfriend as a human shield, and the dog bit her instead of him, which I found funny, and like, yeah, that was a bad thing to do, but it's something you can laugh at. Like, yeah, you shouldn't have done that. That was pretty rude, but not anything. Like, Mike's is honestly, of the three,
Mike's is the least bad.
Mike's is definitely the least bad. Okay.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
And then Rachel, her character, I
think Rachel's is arguably the worst.
I think it is too.
Yeah.
I think it is too, because this is what I also found interesting. Her story is that she had a neighbor who she says is slow. So we are thinking that this neighbor is maybe mentally
developmentally disabled somehow.
Yes, like, somehow. And she took him out. Somehow they get to an RV in the woods that this neighbor has or something, and she asked him to go into a closet, and then she just locked him in there, and she ran away because he started screaming, and she didn't tell anybody about it. The dad even came over to her house, and she's like, "No, I don't know where he is." And then she says, "I don't know what happened to him." But then later she says, "Oh, there was a search party and they found him. Like, he's okay. There's no problems." So there's a theory that maybe she really didn't know what happened to him, and maybe he did die. Like, who knows? I mean, she could very well be lying about what actually happened.
Yeah, because save
face.
Because she's like, no, there was like a search party. They found him. He's fine. But it's like, there's all these questions where it's like, well, wouldn't he have told on her? Like, if they pulled him out of the closet, wouldn't he have been like, "Hey, Rachel locked me in the closet"?
Yeah,
and then wouldn't
they say that too? Yeah.
Yeah, you know, but it's the way that Rachel tells her story, and literally Rachel says in her story, she's like, I was a little kid, I didn't know anything.
Yes.
Like, they
hypocritical, very hypocritical.
They say this a few times. They say this about her and about Charlie, that they're like, you were a kid. You were like, Rachel literally goes like, your brain's not even done developing till you're like 25. Like, she says it right before Emma says her thing.
Yeah.
And
I think Mike says that, right?
Or maybe Mike says that. Yeah. Yeah. But it's still like, and Rachel also, there is an element of this film that I believe is talking about racial dynamics in society.
Yeah.
I think there's a reason why Rachel is a white woman married to a black man, and why, I think that
could be. Yeah.
I think Rachel not only is a stand-in for how people behave on the internet, but can be a stand-in for how like liberal white women can behave on the internet, who are like quick to call someone out for bad behavior. But my theory, anytime someone does that, like, the thing that I've said a lot over the years is like, anyone who gets like really, really excited about like a campaign to cancel somebody, I'm always like, how certain are you, or how confident are you in your past that there's nothing?
Yeah.
There's nothing. Yeah. A very interesting thing about Christopher Borgli as a writer director, by the way, is that he has some things that people online like he wrote this like essay when he was like 27 about how he
just heard about this. Yeah.
And it's all
he has opinions. He's got things. Yeah.
And I think that like you could rightly criticize Christopher Borgli for that essay.
You could. I guess I heard he's Norwegian. So he was 27. He was dating a 17-year-old.
Yeah.
Apparently in Norway, it was not illegal. But still, it's something that you could criticize. I do not know the story, so I can't say any more than that.
Yeah.
But yes, you could definitely look at him. But this goes into empathy, which
Yeah.
is probably the biggest theme of the movie.
Yeah.
Empathizing, right? Exactly what you're saying. Sometimes we are so quick to criticize and we don't look at ourselves and realize that, you know what, like that was bad what you did, but I've done something bad too.
Yeah.
And I can see how you may have done that. Which, one of the most interesting things about this movie is that no one ever really, they're all talking about the problem. They're not talking about what she was going through.
Right.
They never talk about like how she was feeling. And someone, me, who has dealt with depression and dealt with things like that, like, why didn't you ask her like how she was feeling and like
Oh,
what you were going through mentally at the time? No one does that, and it's on purpose. I think
yeah.
Christopher Borgley does that very much on purpose, which I thought was great.
I think Charlie does though. Charlie
He
is actually
kind of does. He kind of does.
like even in the moment though, like on the second viewing, I was like, Charlie really is trying to get to know, but Charlie
I
also
guess you're
is
right.
like
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
hyper fixating and he's panicking, and
He is.
he is part of the reason why like he's making it worse than it needs to be.
Yes. Yes.
But he is like trying to understand, like
he is. He's
my
trying to figure everything out. Maybe coming at it from the wrong way.
yeah.
Is kind of what I felt, but I do. Yeah, he is kind of trying to get to the bottom of it.
It's sort of like clumsy curiosity.
Yes.
It's like
Yes.
and again, that's part of this is like messiness and clumsiness
Right.
and my feeling is that if somebody told me what Emma winds up saying, pardon me, I would immediately be like, "Oh, can you tell me more about that? Like,
Yeah.
wow, like what was tell me like
Yes.
what happened?" And eventually we do get there. Like Charlie
Yeah.
asks more questions. He's like, "I would just like to be able to talk about it with you. I'd like to understand
Yeah.
it better." First, really quick, Charlie's thing is that he claims to have cyberbullied someone.
Yes.
And that he
Enough.
cyberbullied this kid
Right.
so bad that his family moved. But I will say there's a theory online that Charlie is making that up. That he just
Yes. He's
he
trying to find something out.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
And
he's just sort of like, I don't know, I cyberbully. Yeah, he just sort of
yeah. Yeah. Like I can see that. And I do think it's interesting because also he's put on the spot. I thought his story was also interesting because we have no idea if it's true. But if it is true, that's also a very bad thing. It's worse than Mike's,
yeah.
not as bad as Rachel's. But it's a bad. That's a really bad thing.
But similar to Rachel's, it could be as bad as Rachel's. So what happens if
Right.
Charlie cyberbullies this kid and the kid dies by suicide?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
just like with Rachel's, it's like, okay, well, Rachel's is okay because apparently they found the kid and he was fine.
Right.
And that's what makes it okay. But the thing is, like, he just as easily could not have been okay. And you could literally be a murderer.
Yes.
And it's the same with Charlie,
Yes.
where it's like, cool, I guess it's okay because the kid we assume grew up and turned out fine.
Yeah.
We assume.
We assume. And
yeah.
these are the things about all three of the stories. They all did something.
Right.
Which they bring it up later in the movie,
Right.
which I thought, like, listen, she's the only one that didn't do anything.
Right.
Like, we all did something. And they did. She is just the thought of it. And I mean, she gets real close, but she didn't do anything. So it's also a very interesting part of all three of their stories.
Yeah, this scene is so good because even if you've seen the trailer and you know that it's happening in this scene, nothing can prepare you. I also just again, I want to go back to the acting because I love Zendaya's performance in this scene.
Yes, it was yes.
The entire time you can see on her face this buildup of like, am I gonna say it? Am I
Yeah, and
like,
she's uncomfortable too. Like yeah.
But she's also wondering like she's been living with this for a very long time and she's never told anyone. And so she's wondering like maybe today's the day that I just trust that like my friend like that it's been long enough. I've clearly demonstrated growth and that I'm not that person. And maybe today's the day. And you can see her like mulling it over. Like maybe now,
And it's her husband, it's her fiance who she's never told, but she was going to, and she feels like this is the time to tell him. And these are two friends that I can trust, which it turns out they're not really.
It backfires. Yeah. But yeah, it gets to Emma and she tells us that when she was 15, she planned a mass shooting.
Yeah.
She was going to bring it. She brought a gun to school. She had a plan, and she was going to kill many of her classmates.
Yes. And I was like, my jaw dropped, and I was like, that never occurred to me. That was never anything. I thought she was going to have cheated, or I thought she was going to have had a, I don't know, did drugs, like you said, like, but this was like, wow. At this moment, I was like, okay, this is extremely interesting. How does this work now?
Well, and there's immediately, I mean, first of all, like my human part of me is like, I just now I need to know. So Emma's so,
yeah,
she's so much more interesting to me. I'm just like,
Oh,
wait, hold
absolutely.
on.
Yeah.
And also we've gotten stuff in the beginning, in the intro, in the prologue, that now makes all this immediately so much more sense. Like we see this scene in the prologue when we're getting like, the backstory of the relationship, that the first time she realized she had a boyfriend, not even that she was like in love with Charlie, but just that she had a boyfriend, she had a panic attack and freaked out. And it's because it's the first time she's ever had a boyfriend. And she realizes in that moment, oh no, if I have a boyfriend, then that means that like I'm in danger of being known. Like that. Like she's never allowed herself to get close enough with anyone to where they could know this about her. And this is a big thing about Emma, is anytime she's in danger of like being known fully, she freaks out, she throws up, she gets, she gets really upset.
It's a dark part of her past that she obviously is very scared to bring up, because like you said, nobody
she's deeply ashamed of this thing.
And she says that, and then she says, well, that's why I'm deaf in my ear, is because I was practicing shooting and it was too close and I heard a pop and there was just a ton of blood. And he's like, I thought you said you got that from birth. And she's like, well, why would I, like, I was planning on telling you, but like I couldn't tell you. And
there's even a scene where he goes, were you just never going to tell me? And she goes, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of like a thing where she's like, I don't know. Like, it's just, oh man.
I know. And this is when, I mean, Tim, is his name Tim? Mike, sorry. Mike is like, he's trying to kind of be like like he's trying to be middle of the road, trying to understand, but Rachel like freaks out, which I thought this was brilliant, because at first I was like, no one would ever act like that. And then I was like, oh, this is the reason why, because she's kind of the internet. Because she's like, my cousin was paralyzed from the waist down from a school shooting, and like she freaks out, which I mean, hey, that's a horrible thing. Obviously this is a horrible thing, but like someone's cousin, like how close are you to the cousin? Like it's connected to you. Like it was such an interesting familial relationship that they chose, not like a sister, not a brother or anything. It's like a cousin, which is like,
but this is why this movie is such an interesting Rorschach test for the audience, because I think there are going to be people who watch it and side with Rachel, because again, like, that's the internet. I think there are going to be people who watch it and go like, no, I don't think, because my feeling, especially after seeing it a second time, is that like there's no character in this movie I love more than Emma. I think Emma is so sweet, and like I feel so bad for Emma, and I genuinely I think she really has grown, and I think she is not that hurt, scared, sad girl anymore. But I think there's going to be a lot of people who are like, no, I don't.
Yes. And I understand that Rachel's way of approaching it is what is not good. But I totally see why you like, no, this is not okay. That's not okay what she thought. She, like, I understand that, but there's a way of going about that is not the way that Rachel goes about it, because she goes about it with force, saying you're a horrible person, you're a psychopath, you have no empathy, like, and she's like, she just immediately reacts in anger. How internet culture sometimes will be, oh, well, you did this one thing, you're a horrible person. And the nice thing that we have about this movie is that Emma has already been established as somebody who is a good person. So now we have a reinterpreted view of her. And this is where the movie gets really, really interesting, because they keep asking, they're kind of shotgunning questions at her, like, well, what did you do? Why didn't you go through with it? And we find out she didn't go through with it or wait, we find this out later. But
Yeah, Charlie's the one as they go through
yeah,
the next few days who keeps
yeah,
getting more and more information out of her.
yeah. She
'Cause
just
he
like she throws up because she's so nervous about it, and that just ends the whole evening. And
yeah,
they split up, and then we get into this sequence of Charlie. They just go to bed because they're both drunk, and they wait till the morning to talk
to
about
talk
things.
about it.
Yeah.
But so this is the actor I wanted to talk about in this movie that I didn't want to say is we start doing a lot of like flashing back to young Emma and
Yes.
seeing her as a 15-year-old because as Charlie's asking her about what was going on with your life, why was this happening? We're seeing scenes from her as a teenager, and I
Yes.
think that this young actress who plays young Emma does a fantastic job.
I thought she had great. Yeah. Sorry, she did a great job.
Yeah. Like it's so like endearing and also sad. And
Yes.
I think the way that Borgley handles this is like very humane. And it's also just like there's a lot of interesting demographic things going on here because the
Yeah.
vast majority of the time that this happens, it's a white boy. It's like some
Yeah.
young white kid.
Yes.
And to have it be like a young black woman black girl, sorry,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
child,
Yes.
um, uh, is a really interesting thing. And to talk about like the way that society tends to have more lenience or tolerance for white men making mistakes than black women and things like that.
Right. Right.
Uh, but also, I think that there's a really interesting thing in this movie being said about double standards that we have with adolescents. That like when and of course Christopher Borgley is going to be talking about this, but when
Mhm.
like someone wants to date a 15 or a 14-year-old, we're really like, hey, that's a child. That is
Yeah.
not a fully formed person. It's in the conversation with the wine scene. It's like that's not they literally say like you were a child, you were a kid.
Right. Right.
But then when there's a school shooter who's 14 or 15, we go, that's who you are. You
Yeah.
are that. And
Yeah.
we don't allow room for like a lot of these shooters are kids. They're
Yeah.
confused. They're getting I like that this movie talks about like that she tries to explain it by saying like I got taken in by the aesthetics of it,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the idea, I romanticize the idea of being like
Yeah.
remembered or like it's
Yeah.
and then this is where the movie it gets dark. It
It
gets,
does. And
you
it's
know,
yeah, because it is like, listen, there are people that do horrible things,
mhm.
obviously, and they should be punished for their crime, put in jail, whatever it is. But like she never did anything. She never did anything. She has a conversation with Robert Pattinson, and he's trying to figure everything out. And it's a great scene because they wake up the next morning and she's alone in the apartment, and she has a thought like because of the editing, we realize this is in her head. This is not happening because we see we see Robert Pattinson with his friend Mike, and he's like, oh, I don't know what to do. And Mike's like, she's a psychopath. You can't be with her again. You need to call the cops. Like, if you need me to, I'll go and I'll beat her up. And like,
Yeah.
it was really, really funny. But almost immediately I was like, oh, this is in her head. Like,
But also it's like that's so real. Like
yes, yes,
that's how like anxiety works in your head is like you
yes,
imagine people being like when I imagine people are mad at me or when I am like if I think my girlfriend is mad at me or something like that, I imagine
yeah,
her just like thinking out like just like oh this guy's
yes,
and and I'm so much meaner to myself than what
yes,
and what it
yes,
is like Charlie actually he just stepped out to get them both coffee.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
but the editing is so good
yeah,
and the camera work and the sound design that like
yeah,
we flash to this scene of Charlie and Mike talking and we know somehow that it's in her head. And
yes.
that's like it's also that line where he goes, I'll beat her up that like gives it
Yeah,
away.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
It
I love
really
it.
gives it away, but pretty quickly I was like, "Oh, I think this is in her head." Like really quickly. But yeah, the
It
beat up
yeah,
line is a dead giveaway that like,
yeah.
"Oh, that's not that's not real."
There's even
But
like one of my favorite times that they do this, that like the editing to the jump to the flashback where I laughed a lot,
mhm,
which is really it's one of the darkest times is when Charlie goes like, so how close did you actually get to doing it? And we just immediately cut to 15-year-old Emma on a webcam recording her video manifesto and
yeah.
just being so I bet you guys want to know why I did it. Don't you? I
I laughed. My theater did laugh at that part because it keeps cutting her off, and it's like, you need an update.
Yeah,
And
she's
like,
in the middle of recording her like farewell send off to the world, and her computer's like, not enough memory space.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah, that was, and then
oh
like the blue screen of death comes up.
yeah,
Like, have
uh-huh,
you ever had a PC when you were young? It was
yeah.
like, oh man, there's that screen, and that was really. She's holding her gun, and she's saying some pretty bad stuff too. Which,
Well, we're realizing that like this was not just like something that was in here. She was like really serious about it. Like
yeah, yeah.
like it was very close to being a thing that happened, you
It
know?
was, and it's also, but this is also the interesting thing about weddings being performative,
Mhm.
because it was kind of performative, as she's saying, like she's doing all these things, and she really would have gone through with it, it seems, right? But it's also a performance. You
Yeah.
can see that because she talks. I mean, we see this, as you said, this actress did a great job.
Mhm.
Her name, I guess, is Jordan Currit, I think is how you say it.
Yeah, she's
Uh,
fantastic.
she had also like some of the same mannerisms that Zendaya had. And I was like, wow. And I also love that they didn't like de-age Zendaya. I don't think they had the
Mhm.
budget for it, but also like if you show me a picture of a young, like that's me when I'm younger, I'm there. I'm fine. I
Yep.
can bridge the gap. But this actress did a great job of like making me believe as well that she was Zendaya.
Well, also, this brings me back to how good Zendaya is in this film because on the
Yes.
second time watching it, I could see this younger actress in Zendaya's performance. Like, I could see
Yes.
that Emma is carrying that hurt 15-year-old girl around
Yes.
inside of her, and that like Zendaya was like doing things with mannerisms and with like that.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, oh, even though she's grown and she's healed and that she's changed a lot, that hurt little girl is still in there.
Yes.
And I just was like, this is a very layered, detailed performance that we're getting from Zendaya that like you can't fully appreciate the first time you're
Yes.
watching it.
Totally.
And yeah, you
Yeah.
know,
And we do find out, they have a conversation. We do find out that the reason she did not go through with the shooting is she said she took the gun to school, but there was another mass shooting that happened on the same day at a mall that's kind of down the street. And one of their classmates is a victim and does not make it
yeah.
in that shooting. And
In an
then this,
insane twist of irony,
oh,
sh-
totally.
she gets recruited into being part of an anti-gun violence group at her school.
Yes. And she like, so they're doing therapy,
Yeah.
and she like gets to talk with some girls, and like she does break down, and she does hug another girl, and like she finds people, and like there's other kids are like, hey, I think Emma should be the speaker, like, and she's like, why? And she's like, well, I think you're really good at it, and you've got a really good face for it, like you're really good. He's like, I think you would be really good. And she finds confidence, and she finds people that she can relate to, which I thought was very, very interesting. I thought
I
it was,
just yeah, it's like like you could say that because Charlie asked her, he goes, "Didn't you feel like a fraud? Like, didn't you feel like a liar?"
yeah,
And she's like, "No, like she said, she goes, it felt like waking up from a bad dream. Like it felt
yes,
like coming
yeah,
back to like I think she's sincere that
yes,
her and that a reclamation happened, that a psychic shift took place, and
yeah,
she got better.
yeah,
And uh, but like that scene on the second time watching it when she hugs that classmate and she's crying, that's when I was really like, "Man, this young actress is doing a
yeah,
fantastic job." It's so
she did,
because that's a really risky thing for Borgley to put in the film that, like,
yeah,
really might not work out.
yeah,
But also, like, there's these sequences, like, they go to the it as she's telling him about her younger self, the conversation gets interrupted because they have to go meet with their photographer, and
yeah.
this scene is so funny. The photographer keeps saying, like, "I'll shoot you guys, like, I'll shoot
Yeah,
you, I'll
I'll
shoot mom
shoot
and
you,
dad,
I'll shoot your parents, I'll shoot, yeah, which is also like, I've always thought of that, like, I used to do photography and everything, like,
Yeah,
shooting, and yeah,
yeah.
any, yeah, but that was really funny, and
Oh,
it's
geez.
obviously very intentional. This was also a scene that didn't seem like it would happen in reality, but I
Mhm.
love that he pushed the boundaries, because she's like, just do a natural smile, just a normal, this is the teaser that they play.
Pattinson's so good in this scene.
Oh, he
He's
is,
so
yeah.
good in this scene.
He does an amazing
Yeah.
job. But also she just keeps saying that, like, just a normal natural smile. It's like, oh my gosh, like no one would really do this, but it also is just playing into his, it was great because it's playing into his anxieties and you can tell, especially with the editing, he is reevaluating their
Mhm.
entire relationship.
Well, they're doing this thing you could look at this and go, "Ah, it's kind of a creepy thing to put in the movie," but it's like I found it to be incredibly effective.
Yeah.
They're doing this thing where he's taking photos with Zendaya, and then she turns into the
The
15-year-old
yes.
girl,
Yeah.
and he's taking wedding photos with this and it's very, like, disturbing, honestly,
Yeah.
the image,
Yeah.
and then we start flashing to all these images of, like, him walking around holding hands with the 15-year-old girl and romantically posing on rooftops with the 15-year-old girl, but it's him thinking like, "Oh, I've been dating this twisted 15-year-old girl who
Yes.
almost did a mass shooting at her school the
Yeah.
whole time," and it's asking that question of, like, are you dating the same person? Are you
Yeah.
dating
Yeah. Are you
that
dating the younger person that you have married? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's just the visual imagery of it, like, this is a great example of, like, show don't tell, of just, like,
Yeah.
showing
Yeah,
me,
exactly.
what's in his
Well,
inner world
and
without,
there's even a shot of the assistant who's another woman, and he is looking at her almost like, "Oh, do I maybe need to find another woman?" Right? Like, it's just a quick shot, but I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, that's him looking at this other girl like, well, maybe I shouldn't go through with the wedding and maybe I should try to date somebody else."
He makes Charlie seem like it's such a natural character for him to do, but then
Mhm.
if you think about his career over the last few years and go from, like, Batman to Tenet to something like Good Time to,
Yeah. Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
dude's got range.
He does.
Yeah.
He's especially from, Harry Potter and Twilight,
Yeah.
he seems to be challenging himself a lot, and
Mhm.
I mean, even Mickey 17, which we didn't love, that's also a challenge, like, performance-wise, like,
Yeah.
he's doing a lot, and this he does have a lot of range. It's
Yeah,
pretty surprising.
Charlie feels like a very, like, natural, fully
Yes.
realized character.
Yes.
But yeah, as they're getting closer and closer to the wedding and he's learning more, I mean, like, it's like all the new details are, like, more disturbing than the last. The fact that it's
Yeah.
like, "Wait, so you only didn't do it because there was just another shooting?" And, like
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it's, but I even go to this question of, like, even if someone has done something, I talked about this in my video on my channel, which, again, but
Yeah.
I did an episode of my podcast, People Pleaser, years ago with this guy named Christian Branscombe, who spent 25 years in prison for murder. And it was
Wow.
like, I met this guy on a rooftop at a party, and we were chatting, and I said, "What do you do?" And he goes, "I'm a shame coach. I coach men about shame." And I said, "How'd you get into that?" And he goes,
Very
"Well,"
interesting.
yeah, and he just told me, he goes, "When I was 19, I murdered somebody, and I spent 25 years in prison for first degree murder."
Wow.
And I went,
Wow.
"What?" And he just I was like, "Huh?" And
Well,
then
that's a very good for him for being open about it.
he and then he's talked to me. We've talked several times
Yeah,
since, but
yeah,
he was
yeah.
like, "I always lead with that just so that people don't think I'm like," he's
Yeah,
like, "It's just something I just wear openly so that they don't think
I understand that,
I
yeah.
don't get into friendships where people feel like I tricked them or something."
Right,
And,
right.
which, like, but also, like, I just was immediately so fascinated by this man,
Yes.
and getting to know him, I'm like, it was very clear to me that it just was like, "Oh, you at 46, you're not the same person that you were when you were 19. Like, you're not the kid that committed first degree murder at 19.
Yeah,
You're a
yeah,
different guy." And
yeah. Well, and I
yeah.
think, going back to the movie, the one of the big things that I also thought, this isn't really like they never talk about this, they never actually say anything like this, but this movie is also kind of about the question of, can people change?
Mhm.
Right? Like they never say like, oh, can people change? It's never in the movie, but that's an overlying theme that I was asking myself, because with this guy that you interviewed, like, oh, can someone change? Can they go from murdering someone to having, remorse for that action? Um, and it's an interesting question. They don't answer it, which I think is good. But I mean, I think Emma changed.
I
Like,
I
yeah,
believe that the answer to that question is yes, and I've seen it
yeah,
so many times in my life. I've seen it myself. I even again, going back to this whole thing of, like, the internet, how some people, like, they just, like, they hear one thing about a person. I watched this video the other day of someone on TikTok. So apparently Justin Bieber just performed at Coachella,
yeah,
and he posted like a bunch of highlights of his old YouTube videos from when he was like 12 and 13 years old. He's trying to do something like sentimental and be like,
yeah,
"Hey, like, look how far I've come. Look how how crazy it is that here we are.
Mhm.
And somebody on TikTok was like, how come you didn't post this clip, Justin? And it was like him. It's this famous clip of Justin Bieber when he's like 13 years old and he's in an interview and he's saying the N-word a bunch of times. And it's like, not great. Of course it's not great.
Yeah.
But also my immediate thought was like, hey, I know why he didn't use that clip at Coachella. Like we all know why that clip
Yeah.
is not it. Like, why would he do that? First of all, and second of all, dude, he's 13. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that makes it okay. I'm just saying, like, can we just say he was a stupid kid?
Yes.
Can we,
Yeah.
can
That
we?
Yep.
Yeah,
And every case is different. That's also the thing.
right.
Like, we cannot put a blanket statement on, well, no one can change. Like, every situation is different. Every person is different. Some people can, some people can't. It's just, it's all individual. And so, yeah, but why would he put that in there?
Well, yeah. Why is he going to
Why
include
would he
that
ever
in
do
his
that?
performance? And then
Yeah.
second of all, it's like people do this with Bo Burnham. They'll be like, if you look at his old stuff, he used to be much more problematic. It's like, yeah, he also started when he was 16.
Yeah.
So like we
Yeah.
all were more problematic when we were 16.
We were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, it's the people are just like, no, that's who you are.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
essence of who you
Exactly.
are. And it's like, what like I just, when people feel that way, I'm like, have you genuinely never done anything that you regret? Have you never grown past anything that
Yeah.
you feel
Yeah.
shame for? I think this movie's just has so many good, important questions. And
Yeah.
also it's just like, there's not that many movies out there tackling the subject matter of gun violence in
Yeah.
this way.
Yeah.
And I loved the monologue from Charlie about like how for all we know, there are so many people like Emma
Yes.
who have thought about doing something like this but
Yeah.
didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
With how often this happens in the United States, it stands to reason that there's a lot of people that
Yeah.
have
Have
considered
considered
doing
it.
it and didn't,
Yeah.
you know? And we
Yeah.
just don't know because it never
Yeah.
happened. So,
Yeah. And I mean, I love that too, because they just show random people,
mhm,
various people, and it's like, yeah, you really have no idea what somebody is going through. And also the fact that Emma was really rehabilitated, or, saved by just having people that she could turn to, right? Like, sometimes all we need to do is listen to someone, or be nice to someone, or
mhm.
whatever it is, like, just trying to, don't be a bully and don't be a jerk. A little can go a long way. But I like that it was other people that really brought her back.
Yeah.
Finding those, and honestly, I felt like she didn't, when she was younger, she didn't really put a lot of effort in. I mean, they don't go into it a lot, but like, maybe she could have done more. But it's really great that she got saved by the other people around her, who, when she found her people, which was great.
Yeah. It's really Charlie that's like coming undone through the whole film.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
he's unspooling. He's like as every day passes, he's getting more and more like unmoored from
Yeah.
his commitment to he's deleting his wedding speech. He's freaking out. I think this scene with his assistant or
Yeah.
whoever she is
Yeah.
at the museum, I think the reason why he does this is because I think some part of him feels like, well, maybe I can balance the scales. Like if I do something really bad, then it'll make me and
Interesting.
Emma the same. And
Yeah.
it's a really weird way of him, like he's trying to be like,
Yeah.
well, then she'll need to forgive me for something, and we'll both be. I just think that like it's a really interesting thing that Christopher Borgli does with the script, that by the end of the film, the person who requires the most grace and patience and forgiveness is Charlie.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Because he has a conversation where he tells his assistant, oh, if your boyfriend almost did a school shooting but didn't go through with it, he basically tells Emma's story,
Mhm.
but he says, just hypothetically. And she's like, well, I think I'd call the cops on him. And he's like, and he gets mad and he punches his Diet Coke and like leaves, and then he's crying, and she comes over to console him, and he kisses her, and he cheats on her.
Yeah.
Period. He cheats on her because
Mhm.
he cheats on Emma. He
Cheats on
kisses this
Emma
woman.
like 2 days before their wedding.
Yeah.
Not good.
And no. I mean, they almost sleep together.
Mhm.
They don't.
Yeah.
He stops. But he cheats on her. And
Yeah.
this is obviously a horrible thing again that he did.
Yeah.
Something he did.
Yeah.
He went through
Mhm.
and it's also interesting though cuz he cheats on her. He doesn't go as far as he could though. So
Yeah.
but he did cheat on
He
her.
stops himself, like, pretty immediately, and I
Yeah.
also think
Yeah.
that, like, what makes Charlie's thing again, I think there's a lot of people who watch this movie and go, "I don't think Charlie deserves forgiveness at the end of the film." I
Yes.
think that there's a lot of people who are like Team Emma, who are like, "I
Yes.
don't like that the film ends the way it ends." I think
Yeah,
that, like,
I
no,
get it.
like Char and again, that's what this film is dealing with, is like,
Yeah.
can you have space for a person like being, because I don't actually think that Charlie, like, I don't think that he like wanted to cheat on Emma. I think that he's just freaking out. And
I
he's
yes,
I don't
he
think
is.
it's like someone like going through like an episode, like a manic episode or something where they're not themselves, where they're not like
Yes.
thinking clearly.
Yeah.
And it's just sort of a thing where you have to come back to like, is Charlie an untrustworthy cheater, or did he just hear this thing about his fiance a week before their marriage and just sort of like temporarily lose his mind, you
Yes.
know?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's an interesting thing. So he does that, but then they really go through they go through with the wedding. It
Yeah.
I think after this scene it kind of cuts and they're happy and they do get married. They're married and then it's their wedding dinner and this is where and this is the third act. This is very clearly the third act, which was like again structurally is like okay, it's all going to come to a head here.
Yeah,
And
well,
it's
and
perfect.
it's like Alana Hyams walking around, and she's,
Yeah.
like, wine drunk, and she's, like, whispering in people's ears and looking at Emma, and she's the maid of honor, and she's only there because she called out of the wedding. She was like, "I don't wanna
Yeah.
be there," and they were like, "If you're not there, then everyone's gonna know there's something going on, so you have
Yeah.
to be at the wedding." Like, you have like
Well, and then they have
yeah,
a scene with her cousin
yeah, with her
who was shot, which
yeah.
was like, oh man, that was that
Oh,
was a hard
the
one.
way that Charlie handles that is just,
Yeah.
ugh,
He
ugh.
tries to talk to her but it just doesn't go well.
Yeah.
And she's like, I gotta go. Anyway, that
Anyway,
was
yeah.
cringy
But
scene.
but Alana Hyams, like, Rachel's there, and
Yeah.
Rachel's stirring things up, and then also the assistant that he hooked up with is there with her boyfriend, and
Yeah.
it's just like a room full of, like, ugh, and then
Yeah.
they had to fire the heroin DJ, they wound up firing the DJ.
The new DJ who comes in
Very
was
funny.
it was so funny. He's in it like 2 minutes.
"Hey,
And
man, F her."
yeah,
"Hey,
yeah.
man."
He's like, "Hey, do you know a lot about what is it? Do you know a lot about equipment, DJing
Yeah.
equipment?" And he's like, "Oh, I got this, and this." And it's like, "It's really cool." And Mike's like,
This
"Okay."
guy was like a character from a Tim Robinson movie, like,
Oh,
this
he was
yeah.
perfect,
Yeah.
and he was so good. But
Yeah.
the payoff of him was so great because the dad, Emma's dad, is giving a speech, and he's talking about he was in the army or the Marines or something, and he had a rifle, and he talks, like, oh, and then she joined an anti-gun, and then my rifle went missing, and which goes back to just everything that we
Mhm.
now know about her, which was great. But in the middle of his speech, there's a huge pop that sounds like a gunshot.
Yeah.
That was, and I heard this from a couple people online. That is probably the best jump scare that I
Yeah.
have seen in a movie in years,
Yeah.
if not decades. I was so it like trigger. Obviously, it was very triggering, like because you think it's a gunshot, but it's just the DJ did something. He's like, "Oh, sorry, someone gave me the wrong cord."
Yeah, he's like, "These are not the cables I asked for."
Yeah, it was like, and so but it was like it was such a great jump scare that happens, but it goes into everything because
Yeah.
the dad is talking and we see Charlie and Emma just talk, like their looks the whole time between them are just like, oh man, this is hard to watch.
Yeah, and then, like Emma finds she overhears what sounds like Rachel talking to the assistant about her being a school shooter. So she tells Charlie, she's like, "Hey, we need to pull your assistant in here and see if Rachel told her that." The
Yeah.
assistant gets pulled in. She thinks she's getting pulled in to talk about Charlie and her cheating. It all comes out. It's just like the wedding is an utter
Oh
disaster. And
yeah.
as you said, it's performative. Like
Yeah.
they are putting on a show for their friends and family, even though everything is unspooling. And then Charlie gives the worst speech of all time. It's
Yeah.
all stuff from the beginning that he wanted to say, but it's all coming out like so
Yeah.
clumsily
Yeah.
and in the worst way.
Yeah.
He does talk about their sex life in front of everybody in a
Yeah.
very clumsy way. He, calls her laugh repulsive in a way that's not funny.
No.
And
Yeah.
and it all culminates in him like accidentally admitting that he cheated on her, and or not even accidentally, like
Yeah. Yeah.
and then
And then he said, he's like, I don't care what you did. I don't care what you did. Revealing that she did something. He's like, even if you killed somebody, I wouldn't care. So
yeah,
then everybody there is like, well, what did you do?
yeah,
And like, so he says it in the absolute worst way. The boyfriend of his assistant gets up. I mean, he's a big guy. They
uh-huh.
established this before. He gets up and he's like,
You
did you
sexually
assault
assault
my, yeah.
Misha?
Yeah. Did
Yeah,
you, yeah. And he's like, no. And then he headbutts him.
yeah.
And
Breaks his
so,
nose,
yeah.
wedding over. It's a disaster. It's
Yeah.
very hard to watch. This whole end sequence is just like, oh my
Yes.
yeah, and it's like
It's
the
hard to watch.
opposite of which this always happens in rom-coms where like someone makes a big public scene at the end.
Yeah.
Like someone it's always at a wedding and like someone makes a big public scene.
Yeah.
And it's always like a little cringy and but this was like this was the romantic horror version of it.
Yeah.
It was like it
Yeah.
was genuinely a nightmare.
Yeah.
But another thing that's platformed is Emma said earlier on in the film that it would be cute if they went to like a little diner after the
Yes.
wedding in like their nice clothes.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so
and because he
yeah,
goes to the apartment alone
yeah.
and he dances with himself to the song that he
Mhm,
said he doesn't like that she
yeah.
always puts on.
Mhm,
And he really like, and someone pointed this out as well, the same person. Charlie has shoes that are too small,
mhm.
but he's wearing them. He's trying to wear them out. He's going to try to endure the pain to make it work, which is also what their relationship is going like. I never thought of that. I thought
Yeah.
that was really cool because he takes off his shoes and he's got holes in his in his
And his
shoes because of his,
yeah, and his
yeah,
socks and his
his
toes are
socks.
bleeding.
Yeah, his
Yeah.
toes are bleeding. Yeah. And but he's just sitting there and then he goes to the diner like you talked about, which again,
And he
great
has sneakers
platforming.
on. He's
Yeah,
wearing his
he's
tux,
wearing
but
the
he's wearing
sneakers.
sneakers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's great.
Uh-huh.
That's
Yeah,
great.
God, man, Borgley's a good filmmaker, dude.
He is.
Um,
He is.
and he orders a Coke and a burger, sits down, then Emma comes in and she does her thing. She gives him a chance to start over. She comes over and she kind of role plays with him like, "Hey, do you come here often? My name's Emma."
Yeah.
And what she's extending to Charlie in this moment is a chance for redemption,
Yeah.
a chance for an opportunity for a second chance.
Yeah.
And it's like it's so like merciful and human. And again, a lot of people are not going to like this ending. They're going to feel
No,
like,
they're
no,
not.
it's too cutesy. It's too like, and I love the ending. I love that what the movie says is like, I believe in Charlie and Emma's love
Yeah.
personally. I
Yeah.
think the movie does a good job of selling it,
Yeah.
that it's real and that
Yeah.
it's worthwhile.
Yeah.
And I like that Emma's willing to give Charlie another
Yeah.
chance.
And it's Emma giving
Mhm.
Charlie another chance.
Right.
She doesn't have to ask for forgiveness for anything.
No.
She didn't do anything.
She didn't do anything.
And it's really her forgiving him.
Yeah.
Again, the empathy.
Mhm.
She has empathy. And I agree. Like I want them to work out as well. Like I think, and the setup and the payoff. This is the third time that this happens because there's a second time where she tries to do it, but it doesn't work.
Right.
And this time he gives in.
She tries to do like the role
Yeah,
playing.
let's reset.
Let's reset, and he can't do it. He can't.
Yeah, let's start over. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And then this one he does, and he's like, oh, which was hilarious. I thought it was hilarious. He's like, oh yeah, I had to save a woman's baby
Because she's
a
like, what
man
happened to
said
your
he was gonna-
face?
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
a man was gonna eat the baby.
And she's like, oh, wow.
yeah, she's
Okay.
like, wow, that was a
But also
that
like
was really funny.
again, going back to Zendaya's performance, it's early in the year, so this movie will probably be forgotten by the time it's award
I
season.
know. Yeah,
But
probably
this
will.
last shot of her is beautiful. Like this last
Yeah.
shot where she's like, where he introduces himself, and then she's like,
Mhm.
well, hi Charlie, it's nice to meet you. I'm Emma, and she's like crying. It's really beautiful, and
It is.
I don't know. I just think that this movie's like really great.
Yeah,
It's just,
it is really great. And she
Yeah.
has his hand, and again, we're not sure. And I love that he does give into it too.
Mhm.
I think is that the last line? He's like,
That's
I'm
it.
Charlie.
Yeah, and then
and then
it was
we
just a
see
shot on
both of
her
them.
face. She's
Is it
just
her face?
looking at it. Yeah, she's like
Yeah,
smiling and
yeah,
crying, and then and then we
yeah,
cut to black. Yeah.
yeah. I love this movie too. I gotta say though,
Hmm.
there's obviously a lot of we had a lot of conversations
Yeah.
about it. I can see if people won't like this.
Uh-huh.
I totally understand if people don't like the ending.
Hmm.
And it totally valid in like I'm reading comments and things, and I'm like, yeah, I get where you're coming from. But this one really worked for me. I thought it was done
I
extremely
could
well.
get how people might feel like the choice to try to make the movie as funny as it is like in bad taste. That
Yes,
it's
yes,
like
I
don't
get
try to
that.
make me laugh about this. Like it's
Yeah,
not funny. You know,
yeah,
like but I'm like, I don't know. I think that that's what helps us like
yeah,
have the conversation.
yeah,
It's you know,
exactly.
I don't know.
Yeah,
But yeah, I love this movie. I'm obsessed with it. I
yeah,
stand by what I said that I don't think it's a better film has been released in 2026 yet.
very interesting.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
but let's get into our scores
Let's
and
do it.
talk about it. So on this channel, we give scores for technical, the craft of the film, writing, acting, directing, all that good stuff. We give a score for the ending, a score for rewatchability, a score for cultural impact and significance. That'll be an interesting one,
Yes.
and a score for our subjective feeling. So Kramer, what is your technical rating out of 10? 10 being the best.
Yes, I am giving this an 8.5. I thought it was and maybe it should be more. The biggest couple things is that it's hard to watch the movie sometimes. You know, the cringy parts of it are hard. But that's they're going for that, which is good. But also I felt kind of at the midpoint there's a little bit of a shift. We don't talk as much about Emma and um her reasonings and some of that, and that was what interested me the most. We kind of switched to Charlie, and we switched to his anxieties, and I think it's fine. This is not a bad thing, but I did find myself in the second half of the movie being a little bit less interested than the first half.
Mhm.
um but again, it's okay, it's not the biggest thing, but it's just kind of a little shift that I noticed. But the writing is amazing. Again, the editing is amazing. Honestly, I'm going to give it a 9 because all of that stuff is so good. I'm just going to remove the 1 point for that kind of shift, but it was awesome.
I'm in the exact same space. I think that this movie is just so kind of expertly assembled. I feel like Borgley is operating at a very, very high level,
Yes.
and doing everything really. It just feels like he knows exactly how he wants to make this film. And
Yeah.
I agree. Like the one thing that like if I had any nitpicks is I'm just like, oh, I really am fascinated by Emma as a character, and I wish we had a little more time to spend with her. And
Yes.
especially the second time I saw it, I think I liked Charlie more the first time. And then the second time I was like, man, I'm kind of
Yeah.
annoyed at how hard of a time Charlie's having with this. Like
Yeah.
it kind of bothers me that he like doesn't love, because I started thinking about my own partner and I was like, if I found out the exact same thing about her,
Hmm.
I would just be like, oh my God, tell me about that.
Right. Right.
Explain to me. Like I would just like I would just feel so like sad. You
Yeah.
know, I
Yeah.
think I think I would feel the way that people respond to me when I tell them that like I struggled with suicidality a lot. That
Hmm.
people are just like they don't like judge. They don't go like you were going to do that to your mom, you
Right.
jerk.
Right. Right.
They go like, oh, I'm so sorry that you went through that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Like I think if yeah, it's like
Yeah.
it's a very well constructed film.
Yes,
How
it
about
is.
the ending?
The ending, I'm giving the ending an 8.5. I really liked it. I thought it was great. I thought that I'm debating giving it more, but I thought because you may not agree with the ending, but it was on a technical side, it was set up, it was paid off, it worked, and it's okay if you don't agree with it. I thought it was really good, and I do like the fact of thinking like, yeah, they're going to end up together and they'll be okay. So I liked it.
Yeah, I think that like you're either gonna love the ending or you're not. Like you're
Yeah.
either going to
Yeah.
agree with where it goes or you're not. To me, based on just the script that Borgley wrote, there's no other way I would want it to end.
Hmm.
Based on how I feel about these characters and the journey that they've been on,
Hmm.
there's no other place it should end. There's no other way I think it
Hmm.
should end. Like this is the ending for better, in my opinion, for better or worse to this movie, and it's executed really well. So I'm like at a 9.5.
Nice.
Yeah. How about rewatchability?
Okay, this might be surprising. I'm giving it a 2.
Ooh, because it's just like because it's like it's tough. It's a tough
watch. Like same thing with like Scott's Tots. When I get a movie that's like really cringy, I could take it like one time. This one was really hard to watch. I do love it. I appreciate it for what it was, but also it's like, man, I could watch it for sure. That's why I'm giving it a 2. Like if I had to, I would, but I don't really like want to, because it's a hard watch. It's hard in many ways, but I appreciate that they did it the way that it is. But that's why I'm giving it such a low score, because if I don't ever see it again, I'm okay. But I don't know if I really want to seek it out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going all the way down to a 7, which for me is like, but it's because I saw it twice, and I genuinely had like a much like more exciting experience on the first time.
Right.
And the second time I was like, yeah, this movie, like, but I still like it. I still stay up at like, I might even go like 7.5 because knowing what I know about the movie and seeing it a second time, there was a lot.
Yes.
There was a lot that I was like, oh.
Yeah. And that's why I gave it a 2 as well. I was going to give it a 1, and then I was like, no, there's a lot in there as well.
Yeah.
So sorry. Yeah.
But yeah, it is like, I totally get if people are like, that was not pleasant. It's like, it's definitely like, it's challenge. It is a confrontational film, and that's kind of Borgley's style. Dream Scenario is also kind of hard to watch. Okay. Cultural significance.
I'm giving an 8. It's making a lot of splashes, but I don't even know how much it's made at the box office, but it's I think it's doing relatively well. But there's a lot of everybody who sees it is talking about it.
Yeah.
And it will be interesting to see where it goes. So I'm giving it what I feel is higher, but it honestly could possibly go even higher.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yeah, I would say like an 8 too. I think this is the movie that puts Christopher Borgley more mainstream on the map. Not a lot of people saw Dream Scenario. Everyone that did see it liked it. It was a very well reviewed film. It just like didn't quite do what I think they thought it was going to do. But this movie seems to be like, there's a lot more chatter around it. It's kind of a movie that like, once you see it, you can't not talk about it. Like you have to go find someone to talk about the movie with after you see it.
I know.
And and that's why I'm like, I think that the next film Christopher Borgley makes, everyone will be like, this is the guy that made the drama,
Yeah.
And this is so, yeah. And your subjective feelings.
My subjective score is an 8.5. I thought it was awesome. I loved it. I'm taking off the points for that kind of midpoint change, really, to Charlie, and for the fact that the rewatchability of it is not is not there. But it is such a good. Everybody should see it if they're interested, and it's a great movie to see and talk about. I love that it brings up so many hard questions that you have to kind of work through, and I think it's just amazingly well made by Borgley and his entire team. Everybody is doing a really good job.
My subjective score is a 10. This is just an Austin movie. This is just the kind of movie that I like. If I got a shot to start making, I would want to make films like this. I would want to make movies with characters like this and that ask questions like this. And like, this is just my kind of movie. It's it's probably going to be like hard to beat as the year goes on for like one of my top films of the year. But we'll see as there's a lot more movies to watch. So that's our episode. Let us know in the comments what you think about the discussion. Where do you stand? Would you hire or would you keep the DJ or fire the DJ? How do you feel about Rachel? How do you feel about the ending? How do you feel about Charlie getting forgiveness? Does he deserve it? Does he not? The next time we see each other and do an episode, because I'm going to be out of town again next week. We might be doing Michael. We might be talking about the movie Michael. So
in a couple weeks.
So see that when it comes out, if you want to watch along with the show and I might do a couple mini episodes or something in the meantime, but we'll probably be doing that in a few weeks. All right, everybody, like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Tell your friends, and we'll see you on the next one.
Bye-bye.